Hello and welcome to the Great British Mickey Waffle. Lloyd here at the helm today, and I'm joined by fellow wafflers Ben, Becca and Sammy.
Hi guys.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Right, today we're also lucky enough to be joined by a very special guest. He is the creator of the DSNY Newscast that has a whopping 139,000 subscribers to the YouTube channel alone, not to mention the Twitter, Instagram and Facebook followers. Please give a very warm waffle welcome to Jack Kendall.
Hello there, everybody. Hi. Hi, Samantha. Hi, Becca, Ben, and Lloyd. Hello there, everybody, and everyone who's listening.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks for being with us today. As a creator, host, editor, journalist, reporter, merchandiser, and everything else under the sun for the DSNY Newscast, we're shocked you found the time for us. So, big waffle thank you to you, mate.
Jack of all trades, that's it.
Nice.
As a Disney loving podcast, we've obviously tuned into your channel a lot over the past few years, and we use the information you give us, especially when we're arranging our upcoming Disney vacations, or just to keep abreast of what's going on. But we were shocked to find at least one of our presenters hadn't come across your content yet. And I won't name names.
I'm
maybe
not
on this
surprised,
call.
to be honest. I'll let you in on a little secret that my channel's not very big in the UK. It's probably, I get around 78% of my viewership from America. And then I've only got like around 8% viewership from the UK. And then the rest is like split up across the rest of the world. So I'm not surprised, to be honest. I never get spotted in the UK or anything like that. It's only whenever I go to a Disney location, which is nice in many ways because, you can be on your best behavior. You know that people are going to be, looking out and, oh, that's Jack, And because also being like recognized or spotted can also sometimes take you a bit off guard, and you'd be like, oh, do I actually know you, or do you just know me? It's hard. So if it was happening in the UK, I'd be like, are you a friend from university? Do I know you from, do we used to work together? I don't know. It'll be like that. So it's kind of okay with me that it's not too large in the UK.
Ben and Becca have got a little story about when they recognised your voice when they were walking around.
Yeah, it was at Epcot last year. We met you at Epcot. Yeah, it was probably our first day, one of our first days of the last trip.
I don't know when it was. It was some point during the trip.
Yep. In Epcot, we were walking out of the International Gateway, and we heard your voice, and we just turned around, and it's like you had your phone in your hand recording and talk about Ratatouille.
Oh yeah, I vaguely remember because I did a lot of recording around that time. Yes, I remember now. Yeah. I do actually remember.
Those two strange people that walked up to you and said hello.
Oh. Was this like late last year?
Yeah, November. I think we're talking about Mary Poppins ride that isn't now happening.
That's it. And I think it was not too long after the Skyliner incident. And I had other people come up to me and speak to me about it at the same time or something like that, and I ended up speaking to them about it as well. Because that was a crazy thing. The way everyone covered that, you thought the world was ending, and then we get to 2020. And
the world's actually ending.
Yes. Yeah, but two little gondolas touching together, and people think, oh my God, I'm never going to ride it again.
Yeah. Now we can't
never
get
mind,
back to Disney.
Yeah, no, I can't, and you can't, and no one can. And I'm actually very annoyed about the travel ban because my girlfriend lives out in Orlando, and I haven't seen her for 6 months now. And the end of this month will be 7, because she just came to the UK in February, just before the whole thing happened. And I was debating whether I should fly back out there on March 1st. And I was like, no, I've got my flight planned for April 1st. I'm going to stick to that. And you can see where I'm going with this one. It was an April 1st on me, wasn't it?
Oh, no. So, that must be horrible.
Yeah, it's, but I don't know. We FaceTime every single day. And in many ways, if you can make it through something like this, I feel like we've become stronger in our relationship because of it. But it's also that we were always long distance. We spend parts of the year together, parts of the year apart because of the nature of transatlantic relationships like that. So we were kind of already prepared. It's not like we were new into the relationships, but this one has been the most difficult because obviously all the things that have happened this year, and it's just been a terrible year in many ways, and I've had personal family affairs that have I've lost members of my family, and it's been a difficult year, and not being able to go over and see your partner, it's very difficult. So but don't want to be a down on the podcast. But,
I'm sure you'll see her soon.
Yeah, you will.
Yeah.
Hopefully they're talking about it, so maybe, I don't know.
It's always just not knowing that end in sight. It's like whenever we think about our next trip, it's like we've already pushed ours back from August to November.
Poor Lloyd's had to push his back from last March to next May.
Next May. Yeah. Well, at least you'll be able to, Lloyd. At least you'll be able to, experience some of the celebrations for the 50th that way. I mean, bright side is they'll be looking to start the 50th celebration probably April or May, like an unofficial kickoff to it. Depending on the pandemic, but it's thrown a spanner in the works for many things at the moment in Disney.
We'll all get over there one day.
One day.
Yeah, it's still there waiting for us. So.
Yeah. So our listenership is mostly UK for our podcast. So for our listeners, can you give sort of a carousel of progress summary of what the DSNY Newscast is?
Right. Okay. I'm not going to sing. I haven't got an intro song for my channel. No. So basically, DSNY Newscast, it began back in 2017, and it's just a way to. I wanted to update Disney fans in the most succinct way possible, but most importantly, not just like tell and read the news, because anyone can just like hold a piece of paper and read the news. I wanted to explain the news. So that's what made my videos different to other news videos and stuff like that. So I always saw I was always more interested in the Disney parks than movies, but I do cover Disney movies as well. Also, there's a lot more to explain with Disney park editions and stuff like that. So basically, the channel covers every Disney park around the world. I don't discriminate against any of them. Every single one's covered, and covered kind of equally. Yeah, Walt Disney World does get more coverage because it's got 4 parks, but it's usually in proportion or ratio to the amount of parks that they have and the amount of projects that they've got going on. So the only thing I should probably cover more is Disney Cruise Line. I just don't. I was hoping to cover it more as the new ships were developed, but I don't know what's happening with that at the moment, except for one ship that they've already announced. But in terms of the channel, I'm covering news. I used to cover it 3 times a week. I cover it twice a week now because the videos got longer. But yeah, I'm also going to be introducing new content alongside it, opinion pieces, more interesting like discussion pieces, not like, just randomly talking, properly scripted discussion pieces like video essays on certain things which I think need to be discussed within the Disney community, because like homogenization within the Disney parks, the clone culture, Disney parks and IPs, and are they being overused, things like that. Many different things that need to be talked about. Is FastPass actually a good system, or what should we be doing instead? Things that should get a discussion going. I'm hoping to move in that sort of direction with the channel over the next couple of months.
That's cool, like Disney TED Talks.
I hadn't actually thought about it like that. Yeah, but yeah, I suppose. Yeah, that's actually a good way of actually framing it, because I want to see more engagement on the channel, because when the videos began, I got like huge engagement on the channel, and then it leveled off to around 250 comments per video, which is very good. I mean, I read all the comments and I write back to many of them, but I'd like to really get an engagement and community going in the comment section. And like, if you start to talk more about discussion topics rather than just delivering the news, it gets that discussion going, and it gets other Disney fans interacting with each other in the comment section. So that's kind of like part of the strategy there. And I'm also doing Waltoneering, which is like an armchair Imagineering series of not only things I'd like to see within the Disney parks, but also correcting where I think that Disney could have done better. Which is an important thing, which I had a comment on Twitter last night. Someone said, "You've been so negative on Disney recently. What happened to the cheery DSNY Newscast?" I'm like, look, I'm not cheery. I'm just truthful about it. And Disney have made some questionable decisions recently. And I'm not going to defend them if they're making some questionable decisions. When things are going well and there's nothing to question, yeah, I'll get my pom-poms out and I'll cheerlead for Disney. But I just feel that there are certain areas that they could improve on, and it's always, I always give a suggestion, always give a solution to the problem.
Thanks for that, Jack. I think certainly with all the extra content you're bringing as well, Sammy will definitely be tuning in.
Of course, always.
If you're ready, we'd like to ask you a few questions just to see what makes Jack tick. It's our carousel of questions. So we're all going to ask you. We're going to take turns asking the questions. No judgment, just give the answer as it pops into your head. And if you want to expand on any of them as well, just let us know why you've picked them if you want to. If not, we can just quick fire them as well. So if you're ready, we'll kick off. First question: did you pay for Mulan?
I did not, no. And I will
am I the only one who's paid for it?
So you three, Becca, Ben, and Lloyd, you weren't interested in it, or yeah?
We're still umming and ahhing.
I'm tempted. Mulan's not always been my favourite film. I need to rewatch the animation, but then part of me thinks that I'd watch that and then I can wait 3 months for it to come on Disney Plus in December without paying 20 quid for it.
Yeah,
See, I'm such a movie fan. Like, I'm craving new movies, the original Mulan was probably top 3 favorite Disney movies for me. Like, I love it. So I had to buy it.
But it's a thing about it's got no Mushu, it's got no songs.
I didn't say it was good.
I'm also a little bit cynical about what Disney were doing, because the thing is, clearly they're trying to break into the Chinese movie market, and if you don't know China's policy, they only allow a certain percentage of international movies to be played within their market. And so Bob Iger has a fairly good relationship with the Chinese government, which is a whole different debate for a whole different day. But, because that will eventually get discussed at some point, I'm sure, about his career and his legacy. But I feel like what they were trying to do, if the pandemic hadn't come along, was have their very first $1 billion movie in China, which would have been realistic. We've made $1 billion in China because Zootopia made a huge amount in China. And I just feel like they were playing it very much to that audience. They've even got the Shanghai Castle in the intro of Mulan. And I just feel that it was a bit of... it was trying to play to that audience rather than actually trying to create the best movie for Disney fans. And I feel like they haven't really hit both audiences very well. Like, if they're really going to want to play to the Chinese audience, make a truly original Chinese movie. Like, something completely original to China. Don't try and make it a live action remake of one of their animated classics. And then, the actual Disney fans that know Mulan, they're a bit isolated because they're like, where's Mushu? Where's the songs? So it's just, I didn't feel like it was a winning strategy with the movie, to be honest.
I think it's more of a test so they can see going forward with cinemas possibly not reopening all around the world, that whether it's what the engagement is of people paying that extra price to see it, because people might not want to go to cinema because they don't feel it's safe after COVID, and they'll happily pay £20 to stay inside but still want to see a blockbuster film.
Yeah. My only problem with that is if you're wanting to get a certain answer out of a test, pick a stronger movie to do it with. Like Black Widow would have been a much better test subject, because that Marvel fan base, we could really test them,
If that one I would have brought.
Yeah. If this was happening last year, I probably said the best film to have done it on would have been Lion King.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Just because that would have been the perfect sort of film.
Or Toy Story. Toy Story would have been a fairly good one as well.
That's true.
But I just feel like the idea that, you're trying to pioneer a whole new section of the industry, and clearly they want to do it. Clearly they see they wouldn't be putting it on Disney Plus if they were wanting it to fail. So why not pick a stronger, because they have research on these things, just gauge the interest in a movie coming out. I would have picked a stronger movie and maybe waited till November and done it with Black Widow. But they obviously don't want to lose out on the potential box office of Black Widow in the cinema.
Okay, so next question, your favorite Disney park?
Okay, so I'm going to break it into two categories in terms of Walt Disney World favorite park and then international. So Disneyland Paris is always my home park. So yeah, I always consider that like, you know, the one which I frequent the most and have been to the most over my years. So that's always going to be kind of my home park. But the one which I love the most is definitely Epcot. I'm an Epcot guy through and through. I love that park. MGM or Disney's Hollywood Studios has grown on me in recent years, but the thing that annoys me about that park is the layout. It's just so illogical. And my least favorite of Walt Disney World is probably Disney's Animal Kingdom.
No.
I know. I get people don't like it when I say it, but it just doesn't feel Disney for me. But I love, you know, Kilimanjaro safaris and stuff like that. But it's just never, you know, it's not my most favorite.
Is it Dino Land that does it?
No, I actually quite like the Dinosaur Dino Land area. I'm just not a massive Avatar guy. I'm not massively into Flight of Passage, and I quite like Na'vi River Journey. Just wish it was longer. And yeah, I'm just not a massive Avatar guy. So
no, I think if they took out sort of Dino Land area and just put Wakanda in there, it would be amazing.
My issue with that is, well, obviously they can't do it, but also I don't know if that would really because Black Panther's a story about, you know, it's representing a whole culture, and to put that culture in Disney's Animal Kingdom because he is called the Black Panther, I don't really think that makes a ton of sense. I feel like I saw someone recently suggest Epcot. I'm like, yeah, if anywhere, maybe, you know, if they'd have taken over a pavilion within Future World, that would have made more sense.
Sort of culture representation, sort of more of that side of it than. I'm wondering if in like Black Panther, whether they do it with Black Panther 2, because I know there was a bit of mention in the film about how like they do conservation and things. That could be sort of a link into it, but it's just
possibly.
Depends how they do it.
I mean, you've seen what they're doing with Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind and the whole, you know, the outreach program with the Xandarians and stuff like that. Like they could do it with Wakanda in Epcot if they wanted to.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting.
Okay, question 2. So, ride that you hate.
A ride that I hate. God, I'm trying to think of one which I absolutely. Well, I wouldn't say I hate it. I just don't like it very much. Flight of Passage, but I don't hate it. That would just be. I'm just trying to think of one off the top of my head now. Can't really think of one. Carlo River Rapids. I don't love that. I kind of hate that because I don't like getting very wet on rides. So yeah, I'll put Carlo River Rapids down.
It's a disappointing water ride as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're better water rides that you get more wet on, like other parks.
Barges at
Universal.
Yeah, Universal, definitely.
You want to get wet, go on those ones.
Yeah.
So, most overrated snack?
Ooh, the churro. I know I'm going to get people go, how dare you say it about churro? I like a churro, but I would say when you get around 3/4 of the way down, you start to get too much cinnamon in your mouth, and it's that dryness in your mouth that you go, I bit off a bit too much, you know, bitten off more than I can chew with this. That's what I should be saying there. I was trying to say. I was stumbling over my words. But yeah, no, it's a bit dry, and unless you have a drink with a churro, you know, it can be a bit too dry.
Favorite transportation mode in Walt Disney World?
It used to be monorail, but I would actually say I prefer the Skyliner now. If it connected more parks, I would choose a Skyliner because you not only get the good breeze and the airflow, but oftentimes middle of the day you can hop on there and get a cabin all to yourself, which is very nice to just, you know, relax and decompress from, you know, the parks and then head back into the parks again. It's nice.
Okay, so favorite table service restaurant?
Favorite table service restaurant. You see, the thing is, I haven't been to a lot of them because I have been to more since living out there. So I've been to Sanaa and the ones at Animal Kingdom, and I've been to a lot of the resort ones. Obviously Polynesian stuff like that. But I would actually say my favourite. What's the name of it in Animal Kingdom Lodge? It's not Sanaa. What's the other one called in Animal?
Boma.
Boma. I really liked Boma. That's it. And the buffet style to keep getting up and they had really good food there. So I liked Boma an awful lot. But I don't mind the one at Fort Wilderness. It's not Hoop-de-Doo. It's the one next to it.
Trails End.
Trails End. Yeah. I don't mind that, but I don't love the food there as much as Boma. Boma's my preferred favourite there.
We tried Trails End once, and it was just sort of. I found it a bit.
Okay.
It was okay. Yeah, it was a very good price, very good value for what you got for a buffet.
I grew up not really going to the Disney restaurants because my family, as I would say, we were frugal or a bit cheap the way we went on our Disney holidays, because Disney can get very expensive. So we were the family that used to butter bread rolls and stuff those into a bag and like take sandwiches into the park, and it'd be midday and my dad would be like, okay, everyone's having a sandwich now, and we'd be sat there near Mission Space or whatever. Everyone gets out a sandwich, and we're those British people. So yeah, no, that's what we used to do. So we didn't used to eat out an awful lot because there were 6 of us. So when you go to a restaurant, that can get quite expensive fairly quickly. But we went to Blue Bayou once in Disneyland Paris. That was nice, and we did go to Planet Hollywood and things like that. But yeah.
Okay. So a resort that you haven't stayed at but want to more than anything else on Earth. I would actually really like to stay at the Grand Californian in Disneyland Resort because I feel like that's got I love the theming of it. I love the Yosemite theming of it. I really like the Contemporary, and I really like Grand Floridian, but the Grand Californian has that view into Disney California Adventure. And I just love that because I also love not Fort Wilderness. I also love Wilderness Lodge in Walt Disney World, and I love that whole kind of rustic. It's a bit like the Sequoia Lodge in Disneyland Paris. I love that kind of Yosemite vibe to it. But I feel like the Grand Californian is like the best of that kind of rustic, outdoorsy lodge kind of hotel. I love that.
Yeah,
it's a good choice.
Yeah. It's an expensive choice.
Yeah, that's true.
I can't stay at it, but yeah.
I think all the Disney Deluxe hotels are lovely.
Yeah.
Just spending time just going around them, just exploring is just nice to.
Yeah, I mean Polynesian is also one which would be on my list because I really love a Polynesian and the history of that one as well. I'd put that above Contemporary, I'd say, but yeah, all of them are really nice, but except for I'd say some of their recent designs have been a little bland. Riviera has got great reviews from lots of people saying how nice it is, but from the outside, and it just looks a little bland from the outside. But people say the service there is amazing, and the things they offer are great, and the Grandestino one as well. But it just annoys me that the style of the buildings have become a little bit. Oh, we're going to build this great big block tower instead of what they used to do with Grand Floridian and Polynesian, where it's lower to the ground and it was spread out a bit more and it fit the theme of the. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I understand that. Okay.
Yeah.
Favourite car park?
What is this question? Who made this question up? I'm going to blame John for this question.
I think it was John's question.
I bet it was John.
You guys go out to Walt Disney World. Do you rent a car and do you drive?
No.
We don't.
Yes.
No?
I do.
Yeah. So you'll know what I'm talking about with the car parks, right? So at the very bottom of the car parks, in my opinion, is DAC. I don't like their tram service, and I always get confused in that car park. I don't really like the navigation of it. Hollywood Studios has become better since the whole revamp of that car park. Magic Kingdom, I like it if you can get close to the front, but if it's a long walk if you're if it's a busy day at Magic Kingdom. And also just parking up at the TTC and then trying to travel across and doing it. It's like, it's a big, long, journey on over there. So I would say my favourite is Epcot. It's simple, and especially with the new tram system that they just put in where you right up to the gate, it's fantastic. So I would choose Epcot for my favourite. So I do actually have a favourite car park.
That's the most expansive answer of all the people who've asked. That's the most expansive answer we've had.
I know. I love that answer.
I spent 6 months. Last year I spent 6 months out there, and I rented a car all the time. And obviously, when you go to the parks to do some filming, like I do, you sometimes have to go in and out very quickly, and you get to know the car parks and which ones you like and which ones you don't quite quickly. Yeah.
Typhoon, Blizzard, or Volcano Bay?
Well, I can't comment on Volcano Bay. I haven't experienced it.
It's amazing.
I would like to, but I also don't want to be electrified. Yeah, no. So I always used to say Typhoon Lagoon, but my answer in recent years has changed to Blizzard Beach. I prefer that. Yeah.
Is there like a reason you prefer it?
Because I always thought Typhoon Lagoon was awesome because of the wave pool, as most people would. But I experienced it more recently as an adult, and I was just like, it's actually not that fun. It's so right. But then you go over to Blizzard Beach, and they haven't got a wave pool. They've got I don't know what they'd call it, but it simulates kind of like a
choppy water kind of thing.
Yeah, choppy water. Yeah, that's a good way of describing it. And that is what they have there, and I find that much more fun than a great big wave coming over you. And then you've also got some at Plummet, and you've got some great slides over in Blizzard Beach.
Cool.
I do miss the shark reef at Typhoon Lagoon.
Yeah,
that was awesome. Swimming through there with the nurse sharks at the bottom, and I think there were baby hammerheads in there the last time I went in there.
One of the
quite an experience.
I'd also like to try the one at SeaWorld, the SeaWorld water park. What's it called?
Aquatica.
Oh, Aquatica, yeah.
Aquatica. I'd like to try that one as well at some point, but yeah, we'll get
but
round
not
to it.
Volcano Bay.
Well, I don't know.
Volcano Bay is so beautiful, like it's stunning.
I'm
fighting.
I like Universal. I always used to be like, I'm a Disney guy, I'll never go to Universal. And then my girlfriend was like, we're going to Halloween Horror Nights. I love Halloween Horror Nights.
Oh, yeah.
But like, when you go into like Universal without Halloween Horror Nights, it just feels like there's just something missing, in my opinion. Like when you go into Disney without an event going on, there's atmosphere, there's live entertainment. It's like, things are like bubbling around you, like things are happening. Whereas Universal can sometimes feel a little bit too much like just like a theme park, just like, oh, we're going to go on rides. Whereas with Halloween Horror Nights, it's like, this is an immersive experience. And I almost feel like with the Disney ticketed events, it can sometimes spoil some of that because there's so much going on and it's so busy that it sometimes removes some of the immersiveness of the ticketed event, like the Halloween and Christmas parties. I also pick the Christmas party over the Halloween party, because I'm a Halloween Horror Nights guy, but that's a long answer for.
No, like I do understand what you say. Like Disney and Universal are definitely different, but I love all the theme parks. I'm a all the theme parks kind of gal, and I'm a big thrill seeker as well. So that's why I try and fight Universal's corner all the time.
Do you go to Busch Gardens, Tampa, and do you go to
and SeaWorld? Yeah.
Because I've been there, and like Mako's great. Mako's fantastic. Love that.
Yeah, I'm a big coaster person and a big thrill seeker, so that's why I like that side of things. And then I also love the Disney magic and the atmosphere and stuff like that. But I do think you can get that sometimes in Universal. But obviously it's very different. You're right, it's different.
Yeah, it could be just that I'm not a massive fan of the IP at Universal. Like, I love Jurassic Park, so I really enjoyed that section. But like their Marvel section didn't really do much for me because it's not the Marvel which I like. And Harry Potter, I know this is sacrilege. I'm a British person, but okay, get this. I've never read a Harry Potter book.
You have to get your British passport.
Not only have I never read a Harry Potter book, but when Harry Potter first came out, when I was like, I can't remember, like 6 years old or something, everyone in my class was reading Harry Potter. And I picked up Harry Potter and I read the first page. And I read the first page, I closed the book and I was like, that's not going anywhere. So I was wrong, but but I also looked at like this great big huge book. I was like, that's too much work. That's along my mind. Like, I'm not getting invested in that.
No.
But yeah, so I like the movies, but I've never been interested in the books. So
I guess it kind of answers the next question. Galaxy's Edge or Diagon Alley?
You know what though? Despite saying that, I do really respect what they've done with the theming of Harry Potter. I do actually prefer, the other section of Harry Potter, which is what's it called?
Hogsmeade?
Not Hogsmeade. That's it. I prefer that theming to Diagon Alley because I guess from a British perspective, Diagon Alley isn't actually that different to many of what we see streets in our own country. To Americans, it's like, whoa, this is completely different. To us, it's like, have I just taken the wrong street in a town country? Like it does feel a little bit like that. We see marketplaces and stuff like that in our country, and so yeah, I don't really feel like the Diagon Alley theming, but Gringotts, the theming for that is fantastic.
Stunning.
The ride is not so great, but the theming leading into it is great. But yeah, and then obviously Hogwarts is fantastic. It's just incredible theming. But I'm a Star Wars guy, so I'll always let Star Wars edge out Harry Potter, in my opinion.
Okay. Early morning or late night park visit?
Oh, late night every single time. I'm never ever going to be a rope drop guy. I will always want to go to the park, and because when you live out there, like I love to go there like 2 hours before close. Just go around there for like 2 hours, and then that way, most people have actually left, and the rides are down to like 10-minute waits, and it's just beautiful. You can ride like 3 or 4 rides, grab a drink, and just have a good time around the park. And it's kind of almost spoiled me for when I need to go to a park for like a full day, like when I go to Disneyland Paris or Disneyland and I'm staying in a hotel and I do a full day, because like I'm exhausted by the end of the day, more so than I ever would have been before, raring to go. But now I'm a bit like, I just wish I could like spend longer here and just go in there like for 2 hours each day at night, when it's low crowds. But,
on a few of our recent trips, we've tried to split our days. So we get up early, do rope drop, go back to the hotel middle of the day when it gets too hot, and then go out in the evening and just do park to close.
That's a really good idea. Yeah. We tried to do more of that in Disneyland Paris, me and my girlfriend, this year. We tried to avoid rope drop altogether because I just hate the standing around and like racing other people. And nowadays, especially with COVID, like it's non-existent. You shouldn't be doing that anyway. But yeah, no, it's a difficult one. But I'll always be a late night guy for the parks.
Cool.
Keep the magic or backstage detail?
I can't. It's definitely backstage detail for me, because I've ruined the magic for myself in many ways, because like I know how everything works. So for me, but then again, it was never for me. It was always about learning how everything works. I feel like you can keep the magic intact even by knowing the backstage detail. For me, when I was like 13 or 14, I remember seeing that one on Disney, on the Discovery Channel, like the how things work, or how it's made, that kind of thing. And it was like secrets of Walt Disney World. And it was, they've got utilidors and, Animal Kingdom's an oil rig and stuff like that, the Tree of Life. And that kind of like really sparked my interest for like behind the scenes stuff, backstage infrastructure things. And so I would always love to see how they make the magic, because I feel like that makes me appreciate it so much more.
This might be a controversial one for you. Favorite other podcast or vlogger about Disney?
Well, I'm not going to say podcast because I'm on your podcast right now. So I'll be diplomatic there. But I don't actually listen. I used to listen to quite a few Disney podcasts. And I still listen to the Diz every once in a while. But like my podcast listening varies at different points. So like at the moment, I'm very much listening to a lot of election podcasts with the United States presidential election coming up. and so I'm listening to a lot of like polling. It's boring, but a lot of that sort of stuff in my podcast feed. But and I'm also a big technology guy, so I listen to a lot of tech podcasts as well. But in terms of Disney vlogger, I would always recommend Michael Kay as a great vlogger around the Disney parks. And I would also, there's many great channels out there. Obviously, Defunct Land, TPM Vids, Midway to Main Street, Rob Plays, who's recently changed his name to Midway to Main Street. I've got Yesterworld, Park Ride History is fantastic as well. There's just so many good ones. And I just love the fact that there is such a wealth of depth of content on YouTube for the Disney fans. Like every other like section of Disney of fandom, like, you know, maybe get one or two channels, but like except for Star Wars, which probably has quite a lot. But you know, you've got a huge choice of Disney, huge, and
they're
choice.
all so different as well. Like there's barely any that are the same. You know, everyone's personality is different and stuff. It's great. It's so much content.
Yeah.
Okay, so last quick fire question: on-site or off-site?
Off-site. I've always been an off-site guy. Because I'm cheap, so yeah. I'll self-site.
So where do you like to stay off-site? Is it like hotels, villas? Or you probably stay with your girlfriend?
I because we rent together out in America, so I've actually got a house nearby that we rent. So it's easy for me now and we moved from an apartment to a house recently, which was I mean, I didn't have to do anything because I'm stuck in the UK. But yeah, thanks again, Sierra, for that.
Shout out.
But yeah, no, in terms of like Disneyland Paris, I stay at the ones in I'm trying to remember the name, Relais Spa, and the High Park one in what's the village nearby called again? Val d'Europe. And those ones nearby there, it's just fantastic. I mean, I've stayed at the campsites nearby Disneyland Paris as well, but yeah, I've always been more of an off-site guy. And in Disney World, we always used to stay at Buena Vista Palace, which is right next to Marketplace or Disney Springs now. So we were always the off-site family that used to, you know, stay close to property but never on property. Yeah.
I remember our first trip, we were off-site. Dad was trying to save money. We stayed at the Econo Lodge, Main Gate East. It was just one of the motels. It was like, I think it was about...
Is it on 192? Is it off 192?
Yeah.
I drive past those all the time, those motels. I mean, but that's the thing, is like, that was the original, you know, like, that's where all the off-site hotels were originally when Walt Disney World opened. 192 was where it was happening, you know, and then obviously when Disney, like, really started to expand, like, Hotel Boulevard and stuff like that around there, like, a lot of things changed with the Marriott and Buena Vista Palace and stuff like that. Yeah.
My family was the same. Like, we never stayed on site. I only started staying on site when I started to go by myself and could afford it. But my family was cheap too. It's all good. 100%.
More money to spend in the parks.
Exactly.
Yeah, we never went with family. Our first Disney trip was our honeymoon when we were, where did we stay? SeaWorld. Doubletree at SeaWorld.
Right, yeah. Because they've also got the Renaissance there, haven't they? What's it called? SeaWorld, right?
Yeah, the conference centre on it as well, isn't it?
So what made you want to go and, like, that's a pretty daring choice for, like, the honeymoon if you never experienced Disney World?
Originally, I think the plan when we went into travel agent, we decided on...
We wanted to do a really big trip where we went to Florida and New York and Niagara Falls, but they said it wasn't possible, so we kind of had to...
Florida, New York, and you could have done New York and Niagara Falls, but yeah, you'd have had to drive to Florida, I think, or Florida or something,
And it was like, I think they just said, like, you're not going to be able to, or they couldn't offer us a tour that would cover everything and package them. So it was like, what do we do? Let's just
pick apart. And we'd never been to Florida. We'd both always wanted to go.
Yeah.
So why not?
Yeah. And
now you're
They'd never left.
Now we're hooked.
How many times have you been back since?
Every year.
Every year. I don't know how long.
About 7.
7 times. And
yeah.
Lloyd?
for probably about 13, 14 times.
Walt Disney World.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah,
huge
so that's when I was young as well.
I'm 10,
Sammy?
so Lloyd just beats
10
me.
in Walt Disney World. Yeah,
But Lloyd is much older than me.
Lloyd, got anything to say about that?
It's just that's true. I can't argue with Father Time.
Mine's a lot lower. My count before I started the channel was around 4, and my Disneyland Paris one was 13 or 14. So we always because we always used to holiday in Europe and travel across there, so we'd always do Disneyland Paris. But Walt Disney World first, I did it we did it 95, 96, 98, and then we left it for a bit, and we did New York and stuff in between, and Tennessee. But then we went and did it in 2005, and then it was it was a good amount of time before I went back there. My brother went back there with his girlfriend, and he went there with his wife later on. But it wasn't until 2018 that I finally returned to Walt Disney World, because I'd been to Disneyland Paris, and I'd also been to Disneyland in 2014. And so I'd been to America a lot, but hadn't been back to Walt Disney World for a while. And then 2018, I went back out there in August, September, and then I was like, whoa, I want to now try it, because I took my sister out there because she was really wanting to go back out there. So we went out there together, company, that kind of thing. And then I was like, no, I actually want to go out there again for 3 weeks, stay in a condo and experience American life as I saw it, and see if I could live out here eventually, see if it'd be something I'd want to do. And so I came home and I told my family, I was like, I'm going back out there. And it was the end of October. I went back out there. So it was around 6 weeks, 7 weeks later, I flew back out there, and I met my girlfriend, and that was it basically. For that's the story. And so I then flew back out there in January and February last year, and did it in May and June, and then obviously towards the end of last year as well, when I, for Rise of Resistance. So I now can't really give a count for my numbers, because now I live out there. So I always say 5 times, and then I started living out there. But yeah.
Yeah, that's something I was going to ask. Is that something you're kind of working towards, to living out there?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. When I say living out there, I mean obviously I'm only visiting, but and it's an extended visit in many ways, because I officially live in the UK still at the moment, and I haven't been out there for actually since December last year. I haven't been out there, so it's been a while. But yeah, my plan is to eventually move out there, and I'll be out there permanently. But it's on the cards.
There's no rush or anything. You're just kind of taking it as it comes.
I was hoping to have it done this year, before pandemic hit, but now, God knows when all that will happen, basically. So if I just manage to get out there to visit my girlfriend again for a couple of months, I'll be happy with that. I'll take that quite happily, and then look to resume our plans over next year.
When we got our bug of Disney trips, it's turned into more of an investment now, where we've got DVC.
Right.
So
okay.
A few years ago, it's we were paying every year till everything would work out the way we wanted it to, and it's we like staying on site. We did it a few times, and it's we went in on our second trip. We did the tour where you they talk to you and tell you everything about timeshare and everything about it, and we thought, can't afford that, we're going to leave it. And then 2 years later, it's we could do it, let's just do it. And we have, and just now being able to stay in all the properties that we can at Disney is just amazing.
Yeah, no, I remember being out there back in 95 when the timeshare thing was beginning, and my parents went to one of the timeshare things on the boardwalk or something, and I remember they took my younger sister with them, and they took my older brother with them, and they just left me and my other brother in kiddies I don't know, nursery thing. And we were just left there watching Lion King. We're why have we been separated from the rest of them? What's going on? And we were okay, this is cool, but we're on a Disney World holiday and we've just been left in this jungle themed room. What's going on here? And I still remember that to this day. But I remember also looking around one of the houses in Celebration when that was being developed. And my dad being like, we might live here one day. And obviously we never did. But yeah, do you guys ever walk around Celebration when you go to Walt Disney, or do you ever go there and visit?
We've never been. It's just because we've never had a car yet.
Yeah.
We'd like to.
Yeah.
It would be nice to visit.
No, I don't drive, so.
Never. Lloyd?
We've never been, but it's because we're kind of not really going to do the parks, I think, in May. I think we're going to only do a couple of days. We're going to go and see Celebration, walk around the lake, I think, and
it's
check
not,
it
out. It's not as Disney as it used to be. Obviously, because Disney, like, you know, their association with it kind of like ended. Their contract with it ended a while back, but it still feels like a model like town in many ways, and it's a really nice place to walk around. It's not real Florida. Having lived out there and seeing real Florida, it's not. It's a manufactured version of, because obviously that's what it is. It was Disney creating like an idealized, like they did with Disney Springs. It's like an idealized version of the same thing. But if you head on out to like Winter Park or Winter Garden and Windermere area, like you'll see like real Florida. Like you can head to some like real like smaller places nearby Orlando and see a bit more of that. But do you guys ever go to Target when you go out to Florida? Do you ever like make a trip to the?
Yeah.
We tend to end up at Publix.
Yeah, we've always ended up in Walmart or Publix.
Yeah.
I really want a pub sub. Like I'm dying for a pub sub. It's like everyone talks about them. So like I've only been to Walmart and Target. So next time I'll definitely need to go to Publix.
Have you ever been to a Wawa?
No.
A Wawa, okay. That is fantastic. I love Wawa. It's actually been bought by the same people that own Publix. Publix have bought Wawa, but Publix and Target, like their Targets, like I love Target. I mean, I don't like walking around the supermarkets in the UK, but you can go to Target and be like, oh, this is actually quite a nice experience. I quite enjoy it. I'll walk around here for a while. You know, it's just because it's so well lit. I think it's like it doesn't feel as supermarket-y as the UK ones. But
is Wawa another supermarket?
Wawa is I know it sounds stupid, but it's a petrol station.
Cool.
But it's not really it's a petrol station with like a subway like built into it. So they do Wawa subs.
Ooh.
And their Wawa subs are amazing.
Nice.
I think they're better than pub sub, but pub subs are good as well. But you can get some really good Wawa subs. Yeah.
Need to add that to the list then.
Yeah.
And their cash machines as well don't charge you a fee for withdrawing cash like others do.
Wawas.
Very specific.
Yeah, I remember reading that about them.
I've never got, because when I go out there I got one of the, you know, like a travel card, like a currency card thing, and I use that instead. And so I don't. Whenever I'm out and about, I try and avoid using cash wherever I can, except for the fact that my girlfriend thinks I'm very weird because I travel around in a rental car with like a bunch of $1 bills, and she's like, "What are those for, Jack?" I'm like, "It's nothing to like. Honest to God, the reason why I carry around $1 bills is this reason. Okay, when you're driving around Florida, you end up on a lot of toll roads, and there's nothing worse than arriving at a toll road or a toll booth and not being able to pay it. And when you rent a car, they try and upsell you hey, why don't you buy the Florida Pass or whatever it is? And it's stupidly expensive because I'm not like the Sun Pass. I'm not going to be like traveling that much on the toll roads, but I will occasionally need to travel on a toll road. So like I travel around $1 bills, so if I can easily do it. And last year I was caught out and I went to a toll thing without paying the $1 bill or whatever it was. And they got me for like 20 quid when I got home. And so like, now I'm always traveling around with some dollar bills on me, and it's also
practical.
It's also good for tipping as well. Like if ever you're at a restaurant and like you just want to throw down a couple of dollars, like it's always good to have $1 bills. I think personally, yeah.
We learned that after our first trip. It was like when we get the sort of money exchanged at Sainsbury's, it was like, okay, we've got everything, and the smallest thing we've got is $20.
Yeah.
It's just something you don't think about, and it's like, okay, we're going to have to tip. We haven't got anything to...
I know, it's so awkward to ask for change. It's like...
Yeah.
Yeah, you can.
The tipping thing in America is like something I'm getting used to, but I'm still not completely used to it. You know, I know you meant to, and I do tip, obviously, but like, it is foreign to me. It's still, I mean, even after being out there, and visiting so often, it's still very weird to me to know how to and when to, and it's if you ever wondering when, you should always basically it's always, but I don't know.
I think we've only not tipped once, and that was by accident because we completely forgot. This was on our last day.
I just wish they paid a proper wage. Like if they just paid their service industry a proper wage, like they raised the minimum wage for their service staff, then tipping, and it's much like when you buy something in America and they don't have value added tax built in. It's the tax on top, and it's just like, oh, so that product isn't the amount that I was going to pay. It's now actually I didn't work out. It's another $2 on top.
I know, that's so. I just don't get that. It's so
It confusing because we were in Paris this year. I thought, oh, we've got to add tax to that, but no, we're in Paris. We're not in Florida, so it's just
it's
just
weird.
Confusing.
But it just feels strange that they it's this extra stuff that you thought they would be able to work out how to build it into the price. Anyway.
Yeah. So should we go back to basics and kind of talk about where and when your first trip to a Disney park was?
Yeah, sure. First trip was in '92 when I was 9 months old, or no, actually 11 months old.
Were you born in '92? I was born in '92.
I was born in '91. I'm a '91 baby. So I'm coming up on 29 soon. Basically my granddad always he's the one who got us all hooked on Walt Disney World and Disney parks, because he'd been out there when he was he did a lot of work in America and sales work in America, traveled all across America. And I remember him telling me a time when he went on the Matterhorn in Disneyland in a business suit. He just turned up there one day and I'm gonna go to Disneyland, and hopped on the Matterhorn in his business suit with his friend. And what got him interested is he wanted to go out there and see Epcot not long after it opened. And then he went out there again with my grandma and again, and he's he told his kids, you've got to take your kids to Walt Disney World. And my dad was like, maybe it's a lot of money, but we'll go Euro Disney instead. So they went to Euro Disney, and then that hooked my dad. And my dad was like, okay, we'll go Walt Disney World in '95. But so my first visit was '92 to Euro Disney, and then '95 Walt Disney World.
And do you remember much of it? No, as a very small baby.
I've got a couple of vivid memories from when I was very young in Walt Disney World. And so one of my favorite memories is when it has a torrential downpour in Florida. Mm-hmm. I remember one time me and my brother just ran out there, and it's we lay down on the concrete floor right in front of the Magic Kingdom hub, outside the main gate. It's in the rain. The ground is so hot, and yet you're being rained on, and it's just contrast is so weird. And I have a lot of small memories from 95, 96, because I was so young. But obviously I've got bigger memories from when I was a bit older. For instance, in Disneyland Paris, I remember being chased around the park by Captain Hook. Literally, I was terrified of Captain. I still am sort of terrified of Captain Hook because it was a traumatic experience. But basically, I was always a bit scared of going near Captain Hook. And my dad thought it'd be funny if he went over to Captain Hook, whispered to Captain Hook, "My son's over there. Go say hi." So Captain Hook looks around, and you can see a terrified kid comes, and whoever was in that costume, manic, it was crazy, because they chased me and my sister into a shop. Me and my sister ran into the Emporium and huddled in the corner terrified, and we see Captain Hook at the door, and we're like, he's actually going to come into a bloody shop, So we're terrified there, and my mum's trying to protect us, don't worry, they're fine. And my brothers, who are a bit older, loving this and loving the wind up of the whole thing, oh, he's in there, that kind of thing. So we got out, we got onto the omnibus, the caged bus thing, and we got on there, and he sees us get on there, and he finishes off his meet and greet, runs after the omnibus, puts his hook onto the back of the omnibus, and lets go of it just before any other issue had happened. But it was bloody terrifying. So
that sounds so traumatizing for a child.
Yeah. So Disneyland Paris for you. Rules go out the window in Disneyland Paris, don't they?
We know.
Yeah.
Look at the child catcher.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it was terrifying. So that was one of my Disney memories there. But now I've got a lot of fond memories of Disney parks as well. I mean, I got lost in MGM when I was in 95 and 96. That was another one where we were walking down Hollywood Boulevard, and like my parents turned around like, "Where's Jack?" I'm like, I wasn't there. And I was actually left in one of the shops in, like near the front gate, like near there. And like my brothers and my dad ran back down Hollywood Boulevard chasing down. And I was just like stood there holding a cast member's hand, just like, so everything's all right. Yeah. Like, I'm a lost child in Disney, in Disney's Hollywood Studios. So yeah, I've been a lost child as well.
Oh no.
Do you remember when the experiences stopped being so traumatic, and when it developed into like a spark of love for Disney? Do you remember when that happened?
It still never has, Lloyd. It still never has. It's still traumatic. I'm still terrified when I meet Mickey. No, obviously I've got a lot of good memories, but I feel like the traumatic ones when you're younger, or not traumatic, more eventful ones when you're young, kind of stick out because they're funny stories to tell, number one, and number two, like they're just eventful. Like not a lot of people have those kind of things happen to them. So, but obviously, I've got a lot of fond memories of like riding Pirates of the Caribbean like late at night, over and over and over again. If you catch it when the fireworks go on, you can just do it over. And I'm a big Pirates fan, and Spaceship Earth, and just marveling at that when I was like very young. I was like, going up into there and being told, I'm going around this huge globe. Like I'm going around it. Like, am I upside down? Like not even knowing what was happening. Like I couldn't even fathom it in my mind. But yeah, no, I've got a lot of fond memories and Illuminations when I was like 13, like watching that on the final night of the holiday, and like just making me cry because it was just like, going home tomorrow, but also I don't want to go home, that kind of thing. So yeah, a lot of fond memories.
Do you remember when it turned into sort of more of a life for you, something that you knew you'd always be going back to, and something that was going to feature so highly?
Yeah, no, I think it was when like I said, with the Discovery Channel thing, when I was around 13, over one of the summer holidays, and that year I was like got really into like Disney history and finding out all about Walt Disney. And where it changed for me is like it changed from Disney and Disney animation and like the parks and like, this is something we go do for fun, to finding out about Walt Disney. And there was a man behind it, and like the Imagineers behind it, and like it made it real for me. It was like, oh, in actual fact, this is a company. This is something that I can maybe do one day and be a part of, rather than just experience. And so that's where it kind of like changed me when I was like 13 years old, and I like became a big Disney fan from that perspective of like, no, I love the company more than just the movies. I became more of a fan of the behind the scenes stuff and the company itself and what it stood for.
And what made you kind of turn that into a YouTube channel, or was YouTube the first thing you thought of to kind of get your passion out for Disney, or like how did that all come about?
So it's a longer story, but I'll try and make it a very short one. But so I'll skip over some stuff. But essentially, when I came out of university, I started I tried to go independent and started my own business, and like I failed a couple of times, quite a few times actually, different ideas and projects, and like I started up doing app development and things like that. And when I was doing this certain app, I was getting very bogged down with very obsessed with it in many ways. Like, I need to make sure this app is perfect before it's released. Well, I remember my brother being like, you need to work on something else just to like refresh your creativity. And I was like, yeah, well, I love Disney, but like, I wish there was a Disney news app. And he was like, well, make one then. So like I made like a very simplistic RSS, but very themed to Disney, like tickets coming in and out and stuff like that. I designed that, and like it got rejected from Apple. Apple were like, no, IP, you can't use it, copyright, done. So therefore, like a year later, I came back to it. I was like, if I restructure it in a different way and like take out like the logos, like the Disney logos, which obviously were going to be copyright issues, an idiot at the time, didn't realize it, and I took out all that. It got approved, and I started off doing DSNY Digest. And I was posting every single day to this app, news articles and stuff like that, that would be form. And it had an okay following. It had around 8,000 downloads, and it had like 300 active users a day. And it eventually grew to like 700 active users a day or so. And but the whole idea behind that was I was wanting to send a idea along to Disney, because I have this idea for, and it's actually in the background of every single one of my videos. It's a thing that sits in the frame and off to the left hand side on the table. And it was a proposal which I actually ended up sending to Disney. I spent like a year working on it because I did marketing and business at university and branding. And I was like, no, there's a much better way to communicate with your audience than just paying, number one, paying a lot in advertising, and number two, relying upon these social networks to deliver your message. Because Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok's now boomed, Snapchat's kind of gone away. It's just like Vine, everything else like comes up and goes down so quickly. And I was like, no, you're Disney. You should have a network of your own that you control, that you can build into a streaming service as well, so that you can have like watch parties and like show what you're watching and discuss with the other Disney friends. And I called it the Disney Universe. And I was trying to show that my app, which had like 150 5-star reviews, like there's a real need for this, and people would really want this. So I sent this to Disney, and basically I got a message back saying, thanks, but no thanks. Here's a legal thing saying you can't send us proposals. We don't take unsolicited proposals from you. So that's at the end of 2016. I was like, a bit deflated. Spent a whole year of my life working on this bloody thing, and I'll probably do it in one of the videos eventually. I'll probably actually open up the book and show you what went into it. But yeah, I designed the interface for like a social network, a Disney social network, and everything. And then I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to show them that the idea works. People want Disney news. And I decided if I can't get their attention with a proposal I've sent to them, I'll demonstrate to them on YouTube. And I gave myself around 3 weeks, and I started up the channel, and I was like, if it doesn't take off in 3 or 4 weeks, then clearly, there wasn't much of a demand for it. And within like 3 or 4 weeks, I'd got a huge following. And, I was already like, within the first month, I'd already like had a video that hit like 9,000 or 10,000 views or so, and like a month and a half later, I was at like 1,000 subscribers, and I was like, whoa, there's something to this. And one of my videos like skyrocketed off to like 200,000 views within the first like month and a half, and I was just like, I'm releasing a video as quickly as I can. I was like, you need to give the audience a name, so I was like Walt Disney, because I love Walt Disney and Imagineering, and I'm like Walt Disney, obviously. And it just basically all took off from there, and I haven't really looked back since. I quit my full-time job around 6 or 7 months afterwards because, I was making okay money off the YouTube advertising, but it was sufficient enough to be like, I can supplement my lifestyle with that instead of the other thing, and I can also focus on the channel more. And then the ad apocalypse happened, and Logan Paul, like, idiot he is, in the end of 2017, and then I was like, oh great, I've just gone self-employed again, and where's my money now? I don't have any money coming in. And I think that's another thing that a lot of people don't get, is like, you should start doing what you want to do out of a love of doing it, but people often like, oh, how dare you try and monetize it? But in actual fact, it gets to a point where if you don't monetize it, number one, you're stupid if you're not going to try and monetize it eventually, because it pays for my visits to Walt Disney World, and it also means that I can go and experience more stuff and bring it to the channel and stuff like that. But also, we've all got lives to live and things to pay for and rent to pay and stuff like that. So why not? You obviously need to monetize it at some point. So I get some people every once in a while say like, you should just be doing it for the love of it, which I am. Obviously I wouldn't still be doing it. I'd be trying to monetize every single aspect of it if I was just doing it for money. But oftentimes I've left so much, like, there's so many things I should be doing to try and like build the channel, and like, but I don't, because I'm just like so focused on the latest like Disney idea I've got, instead of actually like looking at it like a true business in many ways. I'm just like, I just really want to talk about like a better way for like Princess and the Frog to be in the Disney parks or something like that. Like, I really just want to talk about that today instead. So
Yeah.
You just got to keep it fun, isn't it? That's the whole point of
Yeah.
it. It's
Well,
why we started the podcast. I have to admit, it's like we wanted just something. We were listening to a Disney podcast that had finished, and it's like, oh, there was like a gap that we thought, and it was just like,
which one was that?
the Dibcast.
I've heard of quite a lot of them, like Diz Geek News, and
it was based from the Dib website.
Okay.
There was just it going for a few years and had various presenter changes, and it was like it just sort of that stopped. Then we just thought maybe if we just got together and I sent a message out, and it just all started from there.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
It's interesting you should talk about the whole debate about monetization versus no monetization, because we actually had not on an episode, but like between ourselves we had a chat, and some presenters were for it and some were against it. So it's a really interesting thing that you would bring up. I'm completely for it. I feel like if you're putting out free content, if people want to pay for it, and people kind of like are watching you, then you deserve to kind of get for it to be monetized. That's my view on it anyway.
I mean, I just feel like nothing in this world is free.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not, nothing in this world is free, and everyone's got, even if you did do it for free, you've still got to find a way of monetizing it to like pay, to like, to be financially stable from that kind of standpoint. And I feel like people who do comment like, oh, you should be doing it because you should be doing it for free, I feel just either don't understand like the logistics of like running content and like the cost involved in just like buying all the equipment or hosting a podcast and having an actual website you upload your podcast to host it and stuff like that, and all the other stuff that goes into it, all the time consuming things that you could be spending on work and doing other stuff, because obviously you shouldn't just start something because you feel like there's money in it, because I truly believe if you ever start something just for the sake of doing it for money, you won't last at it, because you need to have a love for something. You might last at it, but I don't know.
It won't fulfill you.
Certainly me. I need to have something that gives me joy to continue doing it, and doing what I do with news and stuff like that gives me huge amounts of joy. I'm very fortunate to have the channel I have and the following I have, and I've been very lucky in many ways. But also a lot of hard work's gone into it.
Yeah, I think you're right. With a lot of people who don't understand what goes into creating free content. Basically, it's hard work.
If I ever gave a piece of advice to anybody, it's always persistence, because like I failed probably 5 or 6 times before I ever got successful with DSNY Newscast. Like, that failure of the presentation beforehand and the app beforehand and the other app beforehand and the other thing, but like you look at Walt Disney's life and like he failed, he had things ripped away from him, like Oswald, and he failed with the Alice comedies, and he failed with, like, he had many failures beforehand, and like it's sort of traumatic for him, because like he was always looking over his shoulder. But also it makes you appreciate and not take for granted your success when you do succeed, and it makes you like grateful for it. And that's one thing it humbled me a lot when I started to build up that following. I was like, whoa, how fortunate am I and how lucky am I to have this following? But everything in life is a combination of luck and hard work. And if you can just get a tiny bit of luck at the right time, combined with a huge amount of hard work, you're okay. And it's just persistence to keep doing it.
100%.
Yeah.
We've got another controversial question to ask you.
I love a controversial question.
So, if you've got to choose one of these, Jack, Festival of the Lion King or Finding Nemo the musical?
Yeah. Okay. So here's the simple answer. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna get like, people aren't gonna like this. I've never watched either of them. Okay.
Oh.
Now I'll explain the reason why. I'm a rides guy. Okay. I love attractions, and I don't mind some entertainment, but I've never been hugely into entertainment. I love a good nighttime show. I love a good nighttime spectacular. I'll stand there and wait many half an hours and stuff like that just to get a good spot for like Illuminations or Happily Ever After and stuff like that. But I've never been hugely into the shows. They're fantastic. They really are. I've got friends in entertainment and stuff like that who I know who work so hard on these shows. But I've never really been a huge fan of entertainment in that kind of perspective. I've just never really done it that much. So the thing is, though, one of my friends wants to desperately get me to go to Festival of Lion King Folk to go watch that. And look, it looks incredible, but they're the songs which I already know. The acrobatics do look great, but I love the music of like Big Blue World and stuff like that from the Nemo ride more. So I don't know if I can really be the final sway because I've never really watched either. But if I had to, I would say Nemo. I would say the Nemo show. If you had to, having never seen either one of them, if you presented both those options to me and you're like, maybe go watch one or the other, I would head off to go see Nemo rather than Festival of Lion King, because from what I've seen of Festival of Lion King, it's all the same songs which I already know. Whereas with Finding Nemo musical, it's the potential of hearing new songs which I've never heard before, which I think is just more interesting from my perspective. Obviously, both performances are great. You can't really go wrong. But the Big Blue World song, like, I love that. So
I love Go With The Flow. That's my favorite. I love it so much.
I don't know. But it's one of the things I want to do.
I think we should set you the challenge of the next time you're there, you have to see both shows and let us know.
I will, yeah. My girlfriend, she said that I have to go see Festival of Lion King the next time I'm out, so I'm guessing
you're telling you have to go and see Finding Nemo.
She won't go see Finding Nemo, you see. She won't go see Finding Nemo with me because she's creeped out by the puppets. She doesn't like the puppets. So, I don't know. I'll have to go watch that by myself, but...
It's worth it.
I have to admit, our vote's always been for Lion King, but we were lucky that we went to Disneyland Paris a few weeks ago and saw Rhythm of the Pride Lands. And I think that's the best show Disney has ever put together.
What do you think of Magical Map? Mickey and the Magician.
I love it.
I don't like it.
No? I really quite like
I think it was quite good. Like, I quite liked it.
Yeah.
It's quite an interesting way of doing it.
Lloyd's never been to Disneyland Paris.
No. The other shows which, like, I love, I know it's not really a show, but like Tough to Be a Bug, I love that. The pollinators and stuff like that. The Without Us. That one. The song with the bugs at the end. I love that. The bees and stuff. But no, a Muppet Vision. I watch like those kind of shows, but I don't. If I have to invest like an hour's worth of my time, I won't always do it, and that's probably bad of me to do that. But like, I went and saw American Adventure, and as a British person, I came out of it and I was like, you call that history? We've got 1,000 years of history. We've got 2,000. I was like, their history is only 250 years. Like, where are they? And like, I could tell the Americans around me were like, this British guy, seriously. and I was like, I was like, where's the Great British Adventure? Where's that? And we don't even get that in our pavilion.
It'd be about 3 hours long, though.
We get a fish trip, so that's about it.
Start off with William the Conqueror and then move from there,
If you could add anything to like the UK pavilion at Epcot, would there be anything specific you'd want?
Yeah, no, the Mary Poppins thing I was so excited for. Like, when I saw that it wasn't just going to be a ride, it was going to be Cherry Tree Lane they were going to basically make and build out the facades around. Because what they were going to do is like extend the facades into a courtyard in many ways. So a lot of people don't know the actual shape or design of what that was going to be, but I saw like the rumored design of what it was going to be, and it was going to be like an L shape, like finishing off that into a courtyard. And I was like, that's fantastic. Like, I really wish that had happened, but I wouldn't have minded even if it was just like a carousel. Like, I wouldn't have minded if it was just like a carousel, because that was what it was rumoured to be, was a flat ride, either being a carousel or something like that, some sort of basic spinner attraction with projected walls. That's what the idea was, and it's just been scrapped. And I would have preferred, to be honest, a more elaborate ride. But even if they were to build out a proper like theatre over in Epcot, over in the UK pavilion, they could have like a Peter Pan show, they could have a Mary Poppins show, they could have a Alice in Wonderland show. There's like so many British Disney IPs that they could integrate into a show and make it like a best of like British almost, that kind of like show. And I think even that could have worked. But yeah, I always like to go to the UK Pavilion in Epcot because it reminds me, I know it sounds stupid, but it does remind me of home when I'm out there and I'm feeling a little homesick. Because, you know, the architecture, some of the architecture is not right, but some of it is bang on. And Harper Goff, who traveled the UK and, you know, is obviously a Disney icon and legend, he nailed it with some of the design aspects. I took my girlfriend to a Rose and Crown pub in the UK and she couldn't believe it. I was like, yeah, no, there's actual pubs called Rose and Crown in the UK. She's like, she starts joking. I was like, let's go and eat at the Rose and Crown. And she's like, yeah, what, in Epcot? I'm like, no, Sierra.
Like 5 minutes down the road.
There's actual pubs in the UK called Rose and Crown. It's that cliche. Like, they nailed it in Disney. Yeah. Like, you know. And she was like, it's nothing like the original. It's not nothing like that pub. I'm like, yeah, well, yeah, it's not, but at least it's called Rose and Crown.
No, going back to what you said about American history, I'm curious. Have you seen Hamilton on Disney Plus?
I have. I love Hamilton.
Oh, it's so good, right?
It is so good. I was never a huge I'd never seen it on Broadway or the West End or anything like that.
Yeah, me neither.
I never really heard. I heard some of the music before, but like without seeing it performed, the context is kind of lost. And like Jonathan Goff's performance as King George is just like a show stealer. I personally watched the British version of it as well. I feel like Jonathan Goff nailed it a bit better than the British performer, but. You know, it's just an incredible musical, and I would love to see that within the Disney parks.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I will, but I'd love to see it within the Disney parks.
Love it. I just had to know.
A lot of people were like, because Disney bought the rights to Hamilton, they can integrate in the Disney parks, and it's just like that's not how it works. Like they only bought rights to the streaming rights to it. They haven't actually bought the musical. Yeah.
Cool.
You talked a bit earlier about the things you would have liked in the Epcot Pavilion. Do you think that Disney are going down the right route, focusing more on their IPs than original attractions?
So it's a very good question. I mean, the IP debate, you know, it's a complicated one because there would be no Disneyland without IP. That's the simple thing of it. Like a lot of people say, oh, you know, IP within the Disney parks, it's not what Walt would do. But when Disneyland opened, everything was IP. Like it was IP land. Like to the point where, you know, they tried to tie Jungle Cruise into True Life Adventure. They even created a Tomorrowland series because it had to be IP. Like nothing was original. It was all trying to be like, you've seen it on TV, you've seen it in the movies, come and explain it. Like it was all IP. So from that perspective, like there's a long history of the Disney parks of that. But I would like to see not necessarily 50-50, but just throw us a bone every once in a while and just give us an original concept. Like you can do 90% of your attractions can be IP, but just every once in a while give us an original one just to shut us up. You know, us hardcore Disney fans who are like, I want another Pirates of the Caribbean, I want another Haunted Mansion. Just give us something that will shut us up, basically. And I am concerned. A lot of people are like, IP has no place in Epcot. Personally, I don't think Ratatouille was the best choice for France. I think that the work they've done there is amazing, but like if I was to choose, I would have chosen probably Hunchback or something like that. I would have liked to see maybe a Notre Dame built, like a mini Notre Dame and something like that. I don't know. The only issue with Hunchback is it doesn't really lend itself to a ride or a stage show that well. Yeah. It's very dark, but you know, I'd have liked to see. I mean, I think it would have been awesome to see a mini Notre Dame built within Epcot, but. So, you know, IP within Disney, it does work and does work within Epcot. I thought the question was going to be about the transformation and, you know, Future World, because that's a whole different thing. You know, a lot of people are like, they're angry about the direction of Future World. And to be honest, the neighborhoods and the World Celebration nature and discovery and all that sort of stuff, it's okay. But I really hope that this like postponement and budget restraints and stuff like that will force the Imagineers to rethink what they were doing and like come up with a much better plan. Because to be honest, the Interventions buildings were perfectly good. Like there was no reason to rip them down, no reason to tear down Interventions West. It was perfectly good. You could have easily turned that into like taken out all the walls, replaced it with glass, it would have been beautiful. Like, you know, you could have made this like this glass kind of perfect building, like almost like an Apple store in many ways, you know, like that kind of thing. But that kind of flow through the building could have been brought back, and you could have made it look really futuristic, and you wouldn't have had to tear anything down. I just feel like it was a bit short-sighted of them to do that. But now they're having to, you know, pay the consequences. They're like, oh God, you know, we've got this massive construction hole within our park. What are we gonna do? You know, they're really worried now, and I really hope we get something better because of it.
Just what you mentioned in Hunchback there, we did a recent segment about our favourite underrated Disney movies, and someone picked The Hunchback. So I'd be interested to know what's your favourite underrated Disney movie?
It's either Hunchback or Hercules.
Okay.
I love Hercules as well, and I'd love to see more Hercules representation, to be honest.
Yeah, you don't see him in the park much at all.
But the song which I rediscovered recently, and I think, yeah, is Topsy Turvy in Hunchback. You know, the Topsy Turvy Day. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's just because it's like a big musical kind of like, you know, Topsy Turvy. You know, it's like it's a real power kind of like you can really sing to it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, I feel like those two are very underrated within the Disney parks, and you never see Quasi out, you never see Quasimodo out and about, and you actually see more of Frollo out and about, I think, than you see Quasi. And Hercules is like, you never see him out, like he never gets any representation. Maybe that will change.
Meg is one of my favorite female characters. Yeah,
she's fantastic as well, and maybe that will change with like the live action Hercules when it eventually comes out. But you know, there's many things that Disney are doing at the moment which I personally think they're making a lot of like, it's more studio based, but a lot of like tiny missteps that they're making. Yeah. Like they're doing a Haunted Mansion movie again. It's just like, and they've hired a comedic writer to write it. Now, I'm not pigeonholing any writer. Like a writer can write horror as well as comedy, but like it's not what we want. We Haunted Mansion fans want like true horror, not like really bad horror, but like, you know, darker, a bit like that Netflix show with Neil Patrick Harris, you know, the not Haunting of the House, Limony Spicket.
Oh yeah, series of unfortunate events.
Yeah, that thing. Bit that kind of like tone, or Stranger Things kind of vibes. You know, we want it darker, but like I personally feel, and I did it in a video, but like create Foolish Mortals as a TV show for Disney Plus, and just like make it an anthology series, so you know, based around Haunted Mansion. There's many different things that Disney are doing which just don't make sense, and they should really be going in the direction of TV. I really think that they should really be going in the direction of Mandalorian and Disney Plus, and being like, you know what, theaters may not be our best bet. You know, I know we've made billions from theater productions and theatrical releases, but you know, COVID's taught them one thing, and that is that it's a fragile environment. And Anthony Fauci's only just recently come out and said, you know, we might be, this is very depressing to say, but we might be entering an era of pandemics where like pandemics become more regular every 10 years or so, because there's not proper standards within, you know, the food industry and stuff like that. So Disney need to really think about certain aspects. I mean, we could probably keep talking all about masks and policies and the COVID thing in the parks and stuff, but I don't know. I've got a lot of opinions about it, but yeah.
I wanted to ask you a question about Halloween Horror Nights.
Yeah.
Jack, are you creeped out by the killer clowns from outer space? Or am I the only one?
I wasn't as creeped out about that.
Lloyd was a big scaredy cat.
I knew somebody who worked in that house, so like we went through that house, and like Sierra said to me, like, when we go into this next room, look over on your right. That's her friend, and I was like, oh yeah, you're right. You know, like it wasn't as creepy for me.
Yeah.
But one that I found really bad last year at Halloween Horror Nights was the aviation. I don't like birds. I've got like a bit of a fear of birds, like flying, like things flying around my head. And so the one that was like bird creatures, I can't remember the name of it, but
Nightingales.
Nightingales. Yeah, I thought I didn't really like that one too much, but like none of them were so bad that I was scared of them in many ways, but I did think that the Nightingale one was one which I didn't really like the most. But as long as you get prepared, as long as you know what's going to happen with it, it's a different matter.
Nightingale's one that was one that made me jump the most. I think.
Was it?
I got caught out a few times with the same actor.
I just remember you almost crying during Killer Clowns. That's all I remember.
I hate it because that's a movie from my childhood. That was
So
like
good.
scary then, so it was creepy.
Did
rather
you do
than scary.
Ghostbusters? Did you go and do
Yeah.
that?
We did. Yeah. Me and Lloyd met up one night at Halloween Horror Nights last year.
Yeah, Stranger Things wasn't
Disappointing.
Yeah, but did they do one last year?
Stranger Things
I never
season
did
2
it.
and
Never
3.
did it.
It was tied into the very latest season, Stranger Things, which
was
I hadn't
too
seen at the
antsy.
time.
I
I
never did that. I never did it because the line was too long. But
Yeah,
we lucked out and someone
it
gave us a
was.
ticket for like Ghostbusters, so we went to that one.
Yeah. Was that your first time at Halloween Horror Nights? Have you been before?
It was.
Yeah.
No, it's my first time, and we bought like a season ticket, like a multi-day ticket thing. And we did it. We probably went around 5 or 6 times, and we did every house but Stranger Things.
Yeah.
We did a lot of them twice, but I really enjoyed it. I mean, there's no way they can do it in a COVID environment.
No.
Except for that like drive-through scare thing, which maybe Universal should be considering. Like, if Universal, I don't know how they would do it, but like maybe if they took one of their car parking structures and like converted like 2 or 3 levels or something like that, they could maybe do that. I don't know. It's pretty difficult for them to do because they really haven't got the land. You know where they do have land though? They've got that great big piece of land that they're building on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if they wanted to, if they needed to convert that, it's too late for them to do it now. But like, if they were thinking about converting anything, they could have maybe converted that into, or Volcano Bay. Volcano Bay just shut down the car park late at night. Do they have a car park near Volcano? I don't know. They've been.
I don't even know. I don't think so because it's the buses that go over, right?
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the issue with them. Is like if they had a massive car park, they could just turn one of their car parks into a drive-through Halloween Horror Nights, couldn't they?
Yeah.
But never
They're
mind.
just going to do the 30th anniversary next year, and hopefully I can go. Hopefully, kind of COVID settles and I can go, but we'll see.
Well, I'll hopefully be there as well for the
Oh,
next year.
cool.
Yeah, we've
Cool,
never
yeah.
done
September.
a Halloween Horror Nights, so it's sort of.
I think I'll give it a miss.
Come in September.
Hey,
I'll
it's
take
not
you
that
guys.
scary. It's not
I have to
that
admit, I'd
scary.
rather do the tour that you can do during the day to see what the
Unmasking
houses
the
are like.
water. It's
Yeah,
so good.
I'd
I
like
did
to see that
every
first. I
year.
think it's just more of a confidence thing, seeing it that way first. But-
They're
That's
not
how
that
I did
scary.
it.
They really
I'm-
aren't.
No, it's
It
not
is.
that scary. It's all right.
It is scary, but like it's a fun scary. Like
Yeah.
you know, it's a fun scary.
And then
Also, if you manage to get some young girls go in front of you,
Yeah.
the scare actors will always try and scare the younger girls in front of you, and you'll know where the scares are going to happen.
Yeah.
It's like you'll hear the screams coming, like you'll be like, okay, there's going to be something scary behind the corner because you can hear.
Yeah.
So if you just plan it correctly in the queue and you use someone else as your guinea pig, basically, then
I just hid behind Lloyd. Lloyd was my guinea pig.
I have an idea, Sammy. You can stand in front of us all the time.
I just walked through it basically the entire time, holding my girlfriend's hand and being like, saying, I'm ready to hit anybody. If anybody, you know, I'm walking through like in a fight mode, like the adrenaline's already up. Like, okay, anybody want to come in?
Like pure fight mode.
So no, actually, COVID still is around, and they still kept as much of it as they could. They can't come anywhere near me. It's brilliant.
I think the scare factor there is catching COVID rather than actually.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's a different kind of fear.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. It's too real.
So, Jack, where can listeners of the Great British Mickey Waffle and Sammy find all your DSNY Newscast content?
If you just type in DSNY Newscast into YouTube, you'll be able to find me somehow on YouTube. I might be changing the name in the next couple of months. It might be changing to DSNY Network, but I'll still pop up because it's so SEO'd to the point where, like, you know, newscasts will always pop up with network. But and then obviously on Twitter, Instagram, and all that sort of stuff, I'm just DSNY Newscast on all those as well. And yeah.
So thanks again, Jack, for taking the time to come and waffle with us today. And thanks to all our listeners for listening to us waffle. As always, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram at GB Mickey Waffle. And our YouTube channel is The Great British Mickey Waffle. You can also get in touch with us by email using themickeywaffle@gmail.com. If you're listening for the first time, then don't forget to smash that subscribe button on your podcast app so you don't miss out on any of the fun stuff we have coming up. And as always, waffle on!